Hello, good afternoon, everyone. And for those who are watching from a different time zone, good morning or good evening, wherever you may be. And of course, for the person that I will interview today, it's good morning for him, I would say. I hope I'm right. Anyway, for those who doesn't know me yet or first time in this platform, my name is Marilyn. I am the founder and CEO of Customized Training Solutions Private Limited or CTS. And since we have been doing this interview for over 100 times, so I will no longer do the usual introduction. But for those who are interested to find out more how we can work together, we will be sharing a link later on. And please find out more how we can collaborate together. And this interview will benefit, of course, those who are in the C level or senior management who likes to stay relevant and adapt to the next normal, those that are business leaders and team leaders who find it stressful to lead and ensure performance of a hybrid team, and those individuals who would like to level up their leadership skills. And today it's my great pleasure to introduce our guest. He's Robert Ulmann, and it's my pleasure to have him today. He holds a master's degree in life science and also a master's in NLP or neuro linguistic programming. He worked as a leading scientist in a large biotech company and saw firsthand the struggle leaders are facing with employees. And that is why he decided to become an entrepreneur and has served his former employer as well as other corporations on their recovery as a recovery specialist. So, without so much further ado, I'd like to invite Robert. Hi, Robert.
A beautiful good morning, and thank you very much for the introduction, Marilyn.
Mhm.
It's an honor to be here with you.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for taking time to have this conversation with me. And we just wanted to acknowledge some of those who are watching or joining us live today. Um, Hi to Munir. Hi, welcome. Timothy, hey, Timothy, nice to see you here.
A beautiful
and
good to meet
as
Timothy.
yeah, and as well as Buchra Banimi. Did I
She's a
Banimi? Yes.
neighbor from me. Hi,
Oh,
Bushra.
yeah, yeah. So thank you for joining us. They're joining us from LinkedIn. So thank you so much. And please do continue to join us and have a conversation with us. This is not just about me and Robert having this conversation, but feel free to give your takeaways or even more questions for Robert. So hope I'm
Yeah.
sure he could answer those questions. So to start with, um, can you please share with us who are your influencers? Probably what's your favorite leadership style that leads you to how you define what leadership is for you today?
Okay, yeah, thank you for this question, Marilyn. I'm glad to answer them. So
Mhm.
yeah, we are all influenced by someone else, right? And my major influences were actually Bob Proctor.
Mhm.
Maybe you know him. He used to be a
Yeah.
very famous person in the US and in Canada, but also internationally, very well recognized. And when I was in Australia on my working holiday, I watched him 2014, the very first
Mhm.
video of him where he was talking about how to get rich, and I really liked the energy how he was presenting his content, like not only the content itself but the way that he presented it in a very calm and yet very empathic and emphasizing manner. And this was where I
Mhm.
got inspired by that. And a few years later I joined his thinking into results program for through who was my facilitator was a young lady called Elena Dombi. So she's also living in Germany, like I
Mhm.
do. And yeah, we both started to work with each other, how to build up a skill set and how to build up skills and how to build up your own business. Now, by that time, I was working parallel as a
Mhm.
scientist, so holding a
Mhm.
master's degree in life science. This is like applied biotechnology with the focus on nutrition technology and molecular biology. I was designing or supporting the company by creating diagnostic products,
Mm-hmm.
including a rapid test for the coronavirus antigen.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the work. I love to being a scientist, and I still feel a calling like, okay, there's got to be more to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, being in a laboratory, producing some results, producing some numbers, and then delivering them to the manager, and he then you kind of lost the connection to the results, and in the end, when you will have them on the product as a piece of on a piece of paper where you have the statistics, I feel like there's gotta be more to that. Plus, I love to have the direct interaction with my clients or with my customers. So I
Mm-hmm.
decided to start a side hustle, a side business, and which now became actually my main business, being like
Wow.
somebody who helps other people to ignite their potential and in the same time without hustling to the burnout or to depression or to any other sicknesses or health related issues.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing not only your influencer, but also your experience. A reason why you've actually moved to where you are right now, from being a scientist to being an entrepreneur, helping more leaders to have their peak performance while avoiding as well as burnout. Because I would say that this is something that we've been hearing a lot recently, right? About how leaders or how companies are able to actually keep the well-being of their employees, right? Which is very important, because how can you have very good productivity, good performance without having good health, right? So thank you so much for sharing what you're doing. And I really like Bob Proctor as well. The reason why I always like asking about the influencer is because this is something that most people can actually relate, because this is more or less like the people that they also know or can relate to, right? And I agree, like with what you've said, like how influential and inspirational he is, and that's how we should be as a leader, right? So thank you for sharing that with us. And in my earlier introduction, I made mention, like, we wanted to help leaders who want to stay relevant. And you also mentioned around the burnout for employees, right? So from your experience as a corporate leader, before and now working with corporate leaders, what would you say would be the top three problems that they normally face?
Okay, the top three problems. Now, one problem that I see when I work with or collaborate with other companies or like with other entrepreneurs is that they are not in the so-called PPC balance. Have you heard of it?
PPC balance, please
Yeah.
educate me.
Yeah, no problem, no problem, no problem. I actually prepared a few books that have inspired
Mhm,
me as well. Apart from Bob Proctor, there are also other people who I read about and got influenced. And the book that I want to show you is
mhm.
actually right now a very classic one. It's The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey.
Oh
One
yes,
of
the
the books that I
famous
would
one.
recommend to the audience here to read. Now, in the introduction, before he's going into the seven habits, he's explaining
Mhm,
a few concepts, and one that tipped me very much or touched me very was the so-called PPC balance, where
mhm,
P stands for productivity. This is like the service that you as an entrepreneur are providing, be it an IT solution or be it in online marketing, in network marketing, in creating online courses or supporting people with some trainings.
mhm,
This is the production, right? You're producing, you're
mhm,
giving value to other leaders too, or maybe other customers. And
mhm,
then you have the PC, which stands for production capability. And
mhm,
that is the point that is very often neglected by many entrepreneurs, be it a solopreneur or a small business owner. They are all into production, production, production. And the production capability is like really the time for balancing out, for really recovering, replenish the energy that you used into the production. And this is very important. I always like to say, how would your business change if your employees feel that you value their health. How would that change your business and the view and their view to you as a as an entrepreneur?
Definitely a lot. I mean, not only as an entrepreneur, but also for business leaders. I would say that this is like something that they need to prioritize for their team, right? For their employees. Because again, like what the comment I mentioned, right? How can they be productive and how can they perform well if they're not healthy at all, right?
Exactly. Or if you just push them and say, hey, give it an extra mile, give it more, give it to all. We need to hit the deadline. We need to give now ourselves like 150%. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I like to also introduce the very famous formula of Albert Einstein here. Like, you know, this E equals like m mass times the speed of light for square.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to have more, perform better, like giving it like 50% more, and if you
Mm-hmm.
take this into the equation, like and you need to um, put it into the square, then you
Mm-hmm.
actually need more than 2 times more energy. And this energy, after you hit your target, needs to be replenished. So the
Mm-hmm.
worst thing an employer or an entrepreneur can do to his employees, in my opinion at least, is pushing them until they deliver whatever they want to deliver, and then say, "Great, let's move on with business as usual." This
Mm-hmm.
is the recipe for an upcoming burnout, or people will or employers will fall off sick more often because they will cause some physical pain. You know, if
Yeah.
you literally burn them out. So you need to find time and also opportunities and maybe even provide it to your employers
Mm-hmm.
for recovery.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. Um are you done with the top three problems?
I would like
One.
to move on and tell you a little bit maybe about another book that I also been inspired and actually become like the framework of my current work. This is
Mm-hmm.
this book here. It's The Power of Full Engagement. And here it is, they're written like it's not about time management, it's about
Mm-hmm.
energy management and about setting up the right priorities. So I
Mm-hmm.
can really schedule my timing very well. But if I don't manage my energy properly, and I would be here on your interview being, you know, a little bit like sloppy and totally lazy, totally unconcentrated, and maybe easily distracted by something else, then
Mm-hmm.
we wouldn't have you would have that totally different experience about me than like now. Focused, grounded, full of energy. I hope at least I deliver this impression to you. Yeah,
Thank you for sharing that. Anything more that you'd like to share? I'm just
yeah,
making sure I'm getting everything as well,
yeah.
based on our conversation as well prior to this.
Okay.
So I just wanted to, yeah, go ahead. Is there
Yeah,
anything you'd like to
clarity
say?
of why is actually one of the energy dimensions that I wanted to mention. So in this book, The Powerful Engagement, the authors are talking about 4 dimensions of energy. The physical dimension, which is pretty quite clear, like working out properly, to replenish yourself with enough nutrition and also fluids, plus
Mm-hmm.
having the balance between being awake and being asleep,
Mm-hmm.
or having good enough recovery for sleep. Then you have the emotional
Mm-hmm.
dimension where you are like grounded or versus being easily getting frustrated or angry or sad. Then you have
Mm-hmm.
the mental dimension where you are more focused versus being more distracted. And the spiritual dimension is the clarity of
Mm-hmm.
why. So the third book that I wanted to introduce is the bestseller Start With Why by Simon Sinek. I actually
Mm-hmm.
give it away for boring, so I cannot show it to you. But if people
Mm-hmm.
are watching, you want to look for it, Google it, Start With Why by Simon Sinek. And this is the spiritual dimension that's most lacking. When you don't know your why, when the why goes fuzzy, then your employees will go back from like, hey, I want to change the world, I want to make a contribution to other people. They
Mm-hmm.
will adjust themselves down to, yeah, I'm just an IT guy. Yeah, I'm just creating online courses,
Mm-hmm.
right? You feel a difference there when a person comes from why versus a person that comes from a what. And that's, in my opinion, is also a huge difference that many leaders oversee.
Yeah, very true. I totally agree with you on that. And I would say that our why is supposed to be our like where we get our motivation, our energy from. Because when you know your purpose and how important it is for, not only for yourself but also for others, right? It becomes different, right? You wake up daily motivated, doing what you're supposed to do, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so, but of course, we don't want to leave them with this top three problems that you have shared with me today, which is, of course, making employees feel that you care for them, having the clarity of why, and of course, solving the problems with wrong methods. So, I'm not so sure if I heard you explain, or is it the spiritual dimension, not being able to balance all this? Did I get it right?
The spiritual dimension is the finding the clarity of your own why, and finding a company or finding people for your company that
Mhm.
are in alignment with that why, for the
Mhm.
for the for the majority, or for the most part.
Ah,
This is the challenge.
I
So this is a
see. I
special
see.
dimension. Yeah, one of the four. Then you have still the emotional, the physical, and the mental
Mhm. Right,
dimension.
right. And I would say that it's like it's different, right? The motivation or the purpose and the energy that we have is different when we're able to balance out the different dimensions or needs that we have, like the spiritual, the physical, even the emotional aspects of our life, because that's how human works, right?
Yeah,
In the
and
first
one
place.
thing that I want to also mention is, when one dimension is compromised, maybe the why goes fuzzy of the
Mhm.
employees, sorry, then I see it also in in the company that I used to work. They try to compensate it in the wrong way. Like, you have a problem to find clarity of your why. Okay, we just give you a basket of fruits, or we provide you some yoga sessions. This is like they are addressing the physical
Mhm.
dimension, while there's a lack in the spiritual dimension, as an example. So you
Mhm.
cannot fix the lack, the compromised spiritual dimension, with enhancing the physical dimension. This won't work for long term. So if there is a problem with the clarity of why, you need to address that problem and not try to, give them some short term benefits from a totally different dimension. And this is
Exactly.
where my work is coming into, to support these issues.
Right, right. And that's the reason why, like, even the conversation I had last week as well with Nick, he mentioned about like how as a leader you need to balance or to have that equilibrium, right?
Mhm.
Similar to what you are saying now, where we have to balance out all this dimension or aspects of our lives in order to be balanced and to be like, so that we have that energy, right? Because when, again, like what you've mentioned, when one of them is compromised, it's different.
Yeah,
Right. So thank you so much. But obviously, we're not going to leave our audience with a problem, right? We wanted to give them the solutions as well somehow. Or, like, what would you say would be the important leadership capabilities that our leaders must have in order for them to continue to thrive and lead effectively in this new normal?
yeah. As you mentioned, I have right now a small team of
Mhm.
3 people. One
Mhm.
strategy planner, and 2 people who are supporting me in setting up, for example, the studio that I have here right now. And in the background, they are already preparing or editing videos for my next video campaign, which I talk actually about brain foods. So
Mhm.
foods that are good for your brain, that will support your cognitive abilities. By the way, if you want to know them, they are the top 5 vegan foods are avocado,
Oh.
blueberries, olives or the olive oil,
Mhm.
um, walnuts, and algae. So instead of using fish for to getting your DHA and EPAs, or your polysaturated fatty acids, I recommend you to switch to algae. They are all vegan, and yeah, they are all vegan. And for people who are like the vegan diet, or even for people who don't like using the are omnivores, this is also a good thing. So this is, by the way, the campaign that I'm helping. So to boost then cognitive abilities. But back to the question, what are the what are the most important leadership
Mhm.
capabilities? Definitely having being reflective. That's, I think, the most important thing. Being
Mhm.
reflective. If you say something to your employer, reflect how would that how would he react or respond to that. So having a high amount of emotional intelligence and empathy is definitely a very big key.
Mhm.
Also, when I'm talking to you, um, how I can see you through the camera. How are you
Mhm.
interested? Are you bored? And if you are totally on your egocentric, you will not realize that. If you just
Mhm.
want to, hey, I want to have the results, I want to have the deliverables. I don't care about you. You see how you're smiling, so you can relate to that. So I can already see, okay, I'm hitting here something, and then I can either emphasize it, or if I see that you are like bored, then I can say, okay, switch the topic. And being that on the constant route is really a key for me. So the feedback loop and the empathy are, I think, the two most important things. And of course, being an example. Now, from me, I have a son. I have a 2-year-old
Mhm.
son, and being an
Mhm.
example stuff for also it's important for him, but also for the young students who are supporting me. Like not only I pay them, but I also acknowledge them. And if there are something that I want to improve upon, I'm always I hate this word, but I have to put it here, criticize the
Mhm.
movie, not the person who's creating. Always criticize the deliverable, the product, what you want to have different. Don't say you are doing it wrong, you are doing it bad. Just say, hey,
Mhm.
I want this improved upon, or I think it could be better. Okay, stop blaming the other instead of to either talk about you. It's my impression. I think it would be better to make this change in that deliverable. And this was something that I constantly work upon. This is where actually the NLP part comes from.
Mhm. Thank you for sharing that. I hope I got that correctly. Being reflective, having or being emotionally intelligent with your team and practicing empathy, and of course noticing that feedback loop. And that's very interesting about what you've said around the feedback, right? Because not a lot of people are welcoming feedback as well, which is very important, right? But I mean, even if like people don't really give their feedback verbally,
Mhm.
I've noticed like you mentioned like, oh, the signs when, oh, she's getting bored with what I'm saying, when
Yeah.
the because again it's communications, right? And a lot of times our non-verbal is like more
Mhm.
significant when it comes to communications. But again,
I-
it's like my point is really like to be able to address even the first two, being reflective and emotionally intelligent when you're with your team, right? It's
mhm.
also important to get that feedback, aside from like what you've said, being sensitive about it, right?
Yeah. I can
Because
give you an instant tip for all those who are watching. Can I provide you feedback, Marilyn?
yes, please go ahead.
See, what have I done? I asked for permission. I asked for the order. I would like to give you feedback. I'm not starting giving you feedback. I'm
Hmm.
asking a question, and you are mentally prepared to receive that feedback. I see
Right.
most of the bosses who will come through something, like a bunch of paper and starting being not criticizing their employee who is
Hmm.
not prepared for that feedback. Alone asking them, hey, I would like to provide you feedback. Are you ready to receive it? And if you are maybe in a distracted position or you are really in depth with some work, then you say, please later, Robert, let's talk
Hmm.
about that.
Hmm.
Now give me the permission so I can already tell you what you're doing here is an amazing job, right? Bringing all the smart heads here in front of the camera and giving them everybody the message here so other people can get inspired of that. You are doing an amazing job here, Marilyn.
Thank you for that. And it's interesting because um recently I've actually attended several programs around coaching, and part of it is actually giving feedback, right? And again, like I've mentioned, I hope I didn't notice that, but it's kind of like truth, right? Where like a lot of people are not open to feedback, right? Whereas it is very important in order for you to improve, right? But at the same time, right, how you actually give feedback also makes sense or matters, right, as a leader. And it's interesting because there are a lot of frameworks that they can actually use, right, to make it as constructive and as helpful as possible, right? So
Mhm.
it's really so much around, do I remember that correctly?
Yeah.
But I think it's really so much of like stating what's the incident, or the like what's the actual scenario like, and then sharing with them like how is it impacting the work or the workplace or the work that you do together, and what are you hoping to see more of, rather than what has actually happened, right? So and there, at least, it's more like in a way very objective, to avoid any like negative emotions or feelings around that space. And
Ask
I'm
you,
just curious.
what is the outcome?
Mhm.
What is the outcome of the conversation that you want to do?
Yes.
Do you want your employees, after you delivered your feedback, to be ashamed, to pack their bags and leave for the day or never come back? Or is it something like, okay, he got it, but he felt appreciated. Yeah, right. You are. I think in Germany we say auf Augenhöhe, so on
Mhm.
the same height. You have communicated. You just haven't criticized the person. You have just maybe provided feedback to the deliverable, or to the product that she was producing, and still telling you, hey, you are great, and I think that you can do it. So I trust you that if you make this change, it will be even better, right? So
True.
always think about, if nothing else, you need to think of your outcome. What's the outcome of the conversation?
True.
And another thing that I learned actually from also another, actually I'm watching Shaolin practices, and there was
Mm-hmm.
a topic that I've just recently read: never act or talk when you are emotionally stirred up.
Mm-hmm.
So here, becoming emotionally grounded,
Mm-hmm.
take a few breaths before you start. Maybe you can do a few stretches, and then think of the outcome that you wanna create. Like when you're heading for a conversation that maybe can is not the most pleasant one, and then you go ahead and start talking. Always keeping the goal in mind that you want to encourage the person and not discourage them.
Exactly. And it's always because the thing, especially I think in the Asian culture, I'm not sure in your side of the world, but a lot of times when like leaders do give their feedback, normally it's not the best feedback, or it's usually negative, right? That's the reason why there has to be also a balance between those feedback. you know um Practice as a leader, you have to practice to appreciate, to recognize, reward people for the good things that they do, but
Mhm.
also at the same time, like, give those or have those crucial conversations, or like not the best feedback, but
Mhm.
intended to like make the person a better person or a better leader, right, to work with as well.
Yeah.
And before I ask you another question, I just
Mhm.
want to say hi to Ledesma Cesar. Thank you so much for joining us today. And for those who are watching us live, feel free to ask your questions, or um,
Of course.
share with us your takeaways. So I wonder, with all this that we have shared around emotional intelligence, empathy, and the feedback loop, is there like any instance or on how you actually relate on these examples or on these skills in your own experience, or is there any story that you would like to share related to like these top three important leadership skills that you've shared, that you have used in the past, either as an employee or corporate leader, or as an entrepreneur now?
Mhm. So I have three employees totally. I have the strategy planner, and I have the two students who are helping me in designing the videos. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
constantly with them in communication via WhatsApp, also having Zoom conversations with them to dating up the project. And I have since my acuity, this feedback loop always on when I'm talking to them. And
Mm-hmm.
right from the start, I can already sense, is this person does this person wants to deliver me good news or not so constructive news? And then I have to encourage them, okay, you have something in the bush, no worries. I appreciate that you want to tell it to me, so go ahead. If they tell me, like for example, yeah, there was actually a video that I created and
Mhm.
the performance was very bad.
Mhm.
Of me, my performance was not good. So he has to tell me, sorry, Lord, we cannot use this video or this draft. You have to record it again. And I said, thank you very much for this feedback. No problem. I actually also in the process of improving myself, right? Every video that I do is a tiny, tiny, tiny bit better than the video that I last had before. So, and this was one of the videos that I did in the very beginning. So I appreciated that he gave me the feedback. I said, no worries, no
Mhm.
problem. I hope that you didn't waste too much time on editing the video before you came to this conclusion. And yeah, I go willing to record it for you, right?
Mhm.
And not so empathic leader would maybe say, just now I'm just acting like, what do you mean? I'm not good enough. Who is paying you? Please make the thing work. Make it work, please. Right? Like this.
Mhm.
Or come
True.
on, who are you? You just some students, I just supporting you here. Who are right? Well, who are you to tell me about it? If you are very egocentric, like
Right.
centered on your ego, this
Mhm.
would be like this. So I'm saying, and also with this with my strategy planner, if he says, Robert, you are doing far too many things, I said,
Mhm.
yeah, you're right. I need to focus on the thing and do one after the other. So I'm
Mhm.
the why guy. I have my big dream to make the world a better place, and I have
Mhm.
so many cool ideas. And the strategy planner is there. He's the how type. He gives me the plan, right? He tells me, okay, you should do the online course. You should still
Mhm.
be your outreach to the people. It's cool that you have this guest speaking event with Marilyn, so
Mhm.
go for it. And that's also what I appreciate. So Joel, if you are watching this by any chance, I appreciate being my strategy planner. I really appreciate you being part of my team. This was just a shout out because I also told him, if you happen to be here, I would definitely gonna mention you. So this is the mentioning. He's also a very long in this business world, in this online marketing business world, and he's helping me in getting my why with the right how to some tangible results. Yeah, and this
And
is
I
how it.
Yeah, true. And I think I would say that's a leverage, right? When you actually get to leverage on someone else's strength, that is not your strength, right? Which good. And I really love that you've mentioned the name of your team member, Joel, because it's not a lot of leaders would recognize their team members as well, right? And if we get used to acknowledging it, rewarding, or recognizing the work, even the simplest things that others do, that actually makes a lot of difference for those people or the people that you work with. So thank you so much for sharing that example and story. Um, and that leads me to my last question to you. If you have a magic wand and can use it, what will you do with it?
Well, that reminds me actually of an NLP technique I learned when I was doing my practitioner. It's called wonder question. Okay, so
Mhm.
imagine you woke up one morning and your most pressing problem is gone. Or your
Mhm.
current most desired wish is fulfilled. How
Mhm.
would you and others notice that without speaking it out loud? This is an exercise for everybody who's watching to yourself. Okay,
Mhm.
my worst problem, my pressing problem is gone, or my most desired wish, or my urgent desired wish is fulfilled. How would that change?
Mhm.
So my wish would be my current customers would introduce
Mhm.
me to their corporate leaders and partners,
Mhm.
right? Like I would
Mhm.
start a positive chain reaction for me and say, "Hey, do to them what you did to me because what you did to us is so amazing. Our productivity has gone up and nobody is burned out. There are no sick day or almost the amount of sick days have been halved or even only one third, 1 or 25%, as well as
Mhm.
and our productivity has spiked up. This is what I would hear and thank you from them and being appreciated instead of manipulated by the leader. Would be my personal magic wish that I would use upon that. And of course, an own island where I can have my own retreat and let people come to me, and also where I can also give my insights and lessons to them. Maybe in the Philippines, there's such an island that's waiting for me.
Yeah, there's a lot of islands in the Philippines. Very nice ones, I would say. I've
Hmm.
been to several already myself, back in my younger days. So
Well, I
thank you for
visited the
sharing
Philippines
your.
like 10 years ago. I visited Manila. I visited Cebu City. I also
That's
traveled
cool.
to Bohol Islands and seen the chocolate mountains. So
Yeah.
I love the culture there, and I love the people there. Like, you can speak very good English and Spanish, by the way.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Because we like quite a number of areas where like speaking some of the dialects actually is very close to Spanish still up until now. Even our like own language, right? Filipino
Mhm.
or Tagalog. Um, it still has like a lot of influence of Spanish as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, before we part, are there
Mhm.
any questions from the audience, from the live audience, that I can answer right now?
So far, I don't see any questions from our live audience. They just, but it's so nice to hear, like, because we don't see those that are watching on LinkedIn here.
Okay.
I believe on StreamYard, right? But you would only know that they're around because of the comments that they actually share with us. So thank you so much for those who watch us live, and for those who are watching us on a replay. Feel free to still post your questions or like takeaways from this conversation so that at least Robert could also like address anything
Mhm.
or if anything, right? So before we end this conversation, is there anything more that you'd like to share or give advice to our audience?
I'm just thinking because I pretty much said everything. If you are willing to work with me, maybe Marilyn can provide the link that I gave her with the 30-minute free 30-minute consultation call, or you
Mhm.
can also find me through Marilyn on on the social media, where I provide also insights and tips about proper nutrition, about some sports activities. Actually, I prepared here. I think a device that everybody should have, or an equipment gadget, is this kind of strap where you can really do good stretching exercises if you are on a sedentary position and you really want to relax a little bit. Also, I say, because people ask me sometimes, they say, hey, when you can do, should I make a break? I
Mhm.
feel
Mhm.
primarily when you feel like it, when you're sitting and your mouse hand gets stiff, or if you see that your concentration is fading, you're focusing more on social media rather than on your work or emails, or you easily get distracted, or your eyes start to hurt a little bit. Make a break. It could be
Mhm.
also like 25, 30 minutes, and then literally do something. Walk,
Mhm.
lie on the grass, meditate, do some stretching exercises like this, and also make sure that you replenish yourself with enough fluids and nutrients.
Mhm.
And like drinking a lot of mineral water is also something. So there are a lot of things that you have to consider. So if you want more, then reach out for a free consultation call with me, and I will be happy to help you out. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for all these practical tips that you've shared with us. I really appreciate how practical this conversation is, giving us all the examples and even tips on how to be balancedly healthy, right? It's not just about the physical, but also the emotional, mental, and spiritual that we have. So thank you for reminding us that, Robert. And again, later on, I will be adding on the comment, but feel
Mhm,
free. I will be tagging you on LinkedIn especially, and
mhm,
let me see if I can tag you as well on Facebook so that you can also add in like your QR code or whatnot,
mhm,
so that they can. That's too generous of you, by the way, Robert, for providing your calendar scheduling and giving us free 30 minutes coaching call for those, especially those who are watching us or will get to see
mhm.
this conversation. So I'll be adding that on the comment again later on, so that it's easier. I have flashed that just now, but it's easier for them to just click the link later on. So thank you so much for your generosity, for all the tips, and for all the insights that you've shared with us today. And again, thank you so much for those who watch us live today. Please continue to join us in this journey to create opportunities to make this world a better place to live in, because we can, right?
Yeah.
And remember that even the richest investors in the world would say that investing in yourself is the best investment you can ever make in your life. And that's not just about training, because I provide training. Again, it's really much more of balancing that, right? Your mind, body, and soul, even your emotions as well, right? So, with that, we would like to leave you with this quote, that if your actions create a legacy that inspires others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are an excellent leader. Thank you so much, Robert, for being an excellent leader for us today. And stay safe, stay healthy, everyone, and bye for now.
Yeah.
See
Bye bye. Take care.
Thank you.